Hello everybody and welcome back to the Billings Wolves Dynasty as we will be going over the offseason in this episode. I know it's been a long time coming, but we will get this done. As you can see, we have been offered a contract extension. This is going to add an extra 6 years to our contract, and we will be accepting that contract after we become a 2-star team and won our first bowl game in Dynasty history. Also, some coaching changes of note within our conference. Stanford fired their coach, David Shaw, and they end up hiring the head coach of Boise State, the team that we struggled with last season. So we will again need to struggle against him. Another change is with BYU. Kalani Sitake was fired as well after they dropped down to tier 2 after being a tier 1 team. They will end up hiring Manny Diaz from Penn State, their defensive coordinator last year from the national champion Penn State Nittany Lions. Last coaching change for the Mountain West is Boise State because Andy Avalos did leave for Stanford. They will be hiring Brian Harsin again, the offensive coordinator from Oregon. He will be coming back to Boise State after leading Oregon to back-to-back national championships. However, they did lose both of those. That is the coaching changes for this offseason. And we will advance on into the offseason. We are receiving no pros in this class, this senior class that we have. So we will be seeing this senior class out. We went in depth with them in our senior game, so I'm not going to go over them again on this one. So some draft results from the conference. We can see that Utah State didn't have anybody. Alaska gets Stacy Weeks, the kicker. He will be drafted from Alaska. Tanner McKee, the quarterback from Stanford, is going to go in the 6th round. San Jose State does not have a pro. San Diego State is going to have Mark Redmond, their tight end. Boise State's going to get a right guard drafted in the 5th round. And BYU send 5 new players from their team to the pros. And that will take us into the recruiting battle that we have in this offseason. So for recruiting, we did have one recruit that we were still in battles with, John Lowe, the center. He is a 69 overall center from Idaho. He is a 3-star, so he will be a big-time pickup for us, being from one of our pipeline states. Boise State currently is in the lead, but we are going to invest all of our points in him, hopefully getting enough put on him to clinch him to our team. He would be a fantastic center to have on our team. He's already in the B's for run block in the 80s, and he has decent pass blocking and impact blocking ratings as well. This could be a huge time pickup from us. He would be a starter on our team right away if we are able to pick him up. So we will go ahead and advance to the signing day, and we will see if we pick up John Lowe, and we will be picking him up easily. Boise State not investing enough in him. We saw the big time desire and super grateful to be able to have him be our only recruit this offseason. So we will be looking at the top classes for this year. So here is what the top 25 of the top classes for this year. Army, that's a big one pickup from them. They're at 18. UAB seeing a big jump. They've got 3 4-stars. That's fantastic for them as well. We can see that promotion for them has played big time dividends for them. Stanford is a team that we're going to need to be keeping an eye out on. They are able to pick up a 5-star recruit. Boise State picking up the 43rd best recruiting class, having 3 4-stars from their class. BYU also going to be picking up a top 50 recruiting class, picking up 2 4-stars, and Alaska picking up a 4-star as well. Utah State's going to come in as 60th overall. San Diego State is going to find themselves at 66. Cal is going to be just behind them at 68. San Jose State will find themselves at 88. And Washington State will round off the conference, finishing below us at 112. So now we will be going over how our recruits are actually going to look as they come onto campus, so we can get a full reading on their ratings after only being able to scout them to 50%. So we will first start with Robbie Wood. He's going to be a JUCO junior. He's going to be our 1-star recruit that we picked up from Wyoming this last recruiting cycle. He's going to slot in probably as our 3rd best running back in our heavy upperclassmen class that we have. He will probably go ahead of Carlson, having the extra speed over Carlson. Next one up is going to be Matt Williams. He is going to be our 1-star from New Mexico. He is our fullback, and we have some decision making to make as they are going to be the same overall as Serge McLeod before training results, and on top of that is incredibly faster than Serge McLeod, being at 76 overall on speed. His acceleration we already knew was going to be fantastic, and that is only going to be higher on the higher end of the B range. I think he's going to fit in very nicely into our running back scheme, as we can slot him in as a running back as well. Next one we're going to look at is Pat Andrews from Nevada. He is a 1-star, and he is only going to be worse than what we had previously thought, moving into the 40s in his overall rating. His receiving stats we already knew were complete garbage, and we find out even more bad news with his route running being on the absolute low end of the D rating. One thing that I wish he could do a little bit better is his speed is really nice at 89, but that acceleration being at 61, that's going to be a problem. We're going to have to see how bad that actually is on the field. We will have to make a decision on him being a red shirt or not. He has really good return, so there's some possibility that we could see him be a returner for our team with that 89 overall speed. Next one we'll look at is Brian Goss, our left guard out of Utah, the 1-star recruit. He's going to be sitting behind Trent Scott, as Trent Scott is a junior, so we could see Brian Goss becoming a redshirt this year, but we'll have to see what our depth is looking like at the offensive line position. Decent overall ratings. We'll see pretty good improvement from him. Would like to be able to redshirt him this next season so that he can only get better from here. So now we get to look at John Lowe, who we just picked up, the center from Idaho. He's a 3-star already at 69 overall, already being our best center on our team, as we're going to be moving Chaz Hall to the right guard position like we had planned in this last offseason. So he is definitely the better center on our roster as of right now before training results. And he will pretty much stand pat for what we expected. Acceleration still being in the B's, strength still being up there. So this is a good pickup from us. The next person we will be looking at is our defensive end, Brent Wynn from Colorado, our 1-star 6'6" right end. But we're going to see bad results after he comes to campus with his power moves and finesse moves moving into the D range. That would have been nice to be able to have him stay at the C. That would have improved his chances of playing this year, but he will probably see a red shirt this next season, sitting behind 3 players ahead of him and Jamin Barrett. Next person we're looking at is Bryant Lucas. He's going to be our JUCO junior from Arizona. He's going to be that one-star guy, and he is going to be our backup right out of the gate, being at that 66 overall behind Yusuf Sykes. We were privileged to see fantastic results from him. His strength goes up into the C range, his pursuit also into the high C range on that one. His tackle rating was as high as it can be in the D range, play recognition into the C range, and his block shedding, power moves, finesse moves, all in the C range. Those are all really good results that we are seeing. Strength at 74 is going to be fantastic for his junior level, and being a backup to Yusuf Sykes and sitting behind him, that's going to be fantastic to be able to have him in this next year, and also to use him as a backup just in case we need it for Yusuf Sykes. Next person that we will be looking at the bottom is Scott Watts, the cornerback. He is going to be down there at the bottom from Idaho, the one-star recruit, and he will see his ratings decrease. That's not what we want to see from a cornerback. He had C's in his coverage. It would have been nice to be able to have those, but those move into the D range near the bottom. That's not exactly what you want to see. He's going to sit on a red shirt this next year for sure. And the last recruit that we will be looking at is going to be John Newby from Montana. He's going to be our 3-star and will be sitting behind Herbert Noel, as he is going to learn from the best at that free safety position and be ready to go when Herbert Noel graduates this next year. Looking at that, we are pretty much getting the guy that we expected to get. Tackle in the C, which we do like to see. His strength was a little lower than what we would like. Coverage has a bit more to work on, but he's got some time to be able to develop as well. He is going to be a fantastic tackler. C range and the hip power, that's going to be nice to be able to have at that safety position. So that is what our recruiting class is going to look like. We will be looking ahead. As we said, we will be moving Chaz Hall to that right guard position. We knew that we were going to lose everybody from that right guard spot. So we will be moving Chaz Hall to that position, as Chaz Hall was recruited to be a guard last year, a right guard last year, but he moved to center last year to fill a need. Another decision that we have also going to make is we are going to be moving Jamin Barrett over to the left end position. And we are going to let Luke Craig be our right end and try and anchor down, being that 59 overall that he is. So that will take us out of the position changes and what we have seen from our recruiting class. We will now move into the training results for our team. We are going to see that Dallas DeLoach is going to finally find himself as the 99 overall middle linebacker, showing that he is one of the best, if not the best linebacker in the country, and he is playing for our Wolves. Training results this year are going to be massive for us. We're basically going to be returning our entire team this next upcoming year. We're going to be missing out on Khalid Cook and Kalichi Nolan on the defensive side of the ball, but other than that, we are returning every single starter that we have. Jamin Barrett is going to be switching over to the left end position. Yusuf Sykes is going to slot right into that starter at the defensive tackle, but we're going to keep Marcus Owens, Dallas DeLoach, and Michael Hall as our linebackers. Herbert Noel is going to be there. Joe Paris, Pierre Forwerda, Vince Riley, Carlos Lee, they're all going to be back. And on top of that, our offense is basically returning everybody. One thing that we are going to be missing out on a lot this upcoming year is our offensive line. We are only going to be returning 2 offensive linemen from last year, being Chip Ball and Chaz Hall, who's now going to be moving to that right guard position. And that's going to be our biggest weak spot from our offensive side of the ball, because we're going to have Chip Ball, Chaz Hall, and then Billy Holman, our right tackle, be guys that are 70 overall. And those are at 70 overall and 73 overall from our offensive linemen. That's going to be a big-time struggle for us. Timothy Strickland, he is going to need to see a big-time step up. He's going to be a sophomore this year, so that's going to be fantastic. He's at 77 overall and is only going to get better as we continue to play him. He's going to probably be a 4-year starter, and he could be really good by the time he gets to be a senior. But right now, being a sophomore at 77 overall, he's not going to be too terrible for us. Our offense is really a running back type offense. So we're really going to see Jaron Walter take a big time load for us, being our big time senior. Dwayne Novak, he could also see a good amount of time, but we're really going to be riding on Jaron Walter this season. Our wide receivers, we wish that we could have seen a little bit better results from them. Corey Young, he'll be graduating this upcoming year. We're going to have Antoine Foreman as well. Those aren't great overall boosts in training, and is going to again be one of our weak spots and something that is going to take some time to try and get better. Hopefully we get some better results from our recruits from this next upcoming season. Just like last year, our team is going to be riding our defense to victory. We're really going to rely on Jamin Barrett and Yusuf Sykes to shore up our defensive line and our linebackers. We already know that Marcus Owens, Dallas DeLoach, and the Michael Hall combination is deadly, and very excited to be able to have them this upcoming year. One thing that I really hope to see after these training results from last year is if our defense can be able, our defensive secondary can be able to stop the pass. That's one thing that I am very worried about, that we didn't see enough improvement on this training results from Joe Paris or Pierre Forwerda or Vince Riley or Carlos Lee. That's something that I am very worried about, and we will have to see if we are going to become any better. I'm hoping that Vince Riley is going to be our sure lockdown corner. Hard part is that we're going to be playing a lot of zone, so Carlos Lee is probably going to have to take a big time load for us in that one. But Vince Riley being a 90 in man coverage is going to be really helpful for us. Really excited about what we have this next season after these training results. Bit worried about our offense. Hopefully we get a little bit of a step up. We're really, like I said, we're really only losing our offensive line. So we're probably going to really rely on Jaron Walter. If we can get just enough blocking, we could probably see some pretty good improvement in our offense this year. But our defense is only going to be stronger this year, and we're really going to need them in a big way this year. So now we will advance out of the training results and we will move into the conference rules, as we are going to change a couple things up. Something that I want to do is to change where our championship games are going to be. Typically what I've done in the past is whichever big stadium of the team that won the conference championship of the previous year, they're going to get the choice of what championship stadium they want to play in. So this time I'm going to take a little bit of a nod from college basketball, and we're going to move the conference championship games to the team that won the conference championship last year. So the ACC is going to see Penn State be the host, and the same thing for the Big 12. They'll see Texas A&M. They'll host, and the Pac-12 is going to see Oregon be the host, and SEC will see Miami be the host. So this is how the BCS Bowls are going to line up. We are going to see the Pac-12 hosting the ACC in the Rose Bowl, and we will also have the Big 12 face off against the SEC in the Sugar Bowl. And then looking at the Tier 2 conferences, The Mountain West Conference is going to be hosting the MAC in the Fiesta Bowl, and the American Conference is going to be hosting the Big Ten Conference in the Orange Bowl. And that will move us into the preseason. So to start us off in the preseason, we will look and see what coaching upgrades that we can apply. So we'll flip the coin to start out to see which side we're going to get. We're going to get up heads, which will move us to game management. We'll flip that coin again to see which one we are going to be able to choose from. And it will pop up heads again, which is going to mean that we're going to get Road Warrior as our choice. We still have one more upgrade to go, so we'll flip the coin again and we will see what is going to pop up for us in this one. It's going to be heads again. Back to the game management. We'll see if we get Road Warrior or if we get antifreeze. So we'll flip that coin again. And it'll come up heads, which means we're going to get Road Warrior again. So we will increase on 2 on that Road Warrior already. So now we get to move on to our coordinators. So we are 5 levels above, so we'll hit that randomizer and it will pop outside the level. We needed it to be 1 through 5, so he will not be getting any upgrades. And we will move to the offensive coordinator. He's 2 levels, so we will hit that randomizer and it is going to pop up as a 3, again just outside the level. So they are going to not get any upgrades in this preseason. We still have opportunities to increase during the bye weeks, so we will see if we are going to get any increases in those bye weeks. So now we're going to move on to the depth chart. I know that we saw the training results already, but now we will add our 9 recruits that we picked up from this last season added into the depth chart. So at running back, Robbie Wood is going to fall behind Rich Carlson. We're probably still going to keep Robbie Wood ahead of Rich Carlson just for speed reasons. We're really only going to redshirt 3 guys this year just because of depth reasons. Matt Williams is going to be one of those guys that's going to be redshirted behind Serge McLeod, as Serge McLeod's a senior. And we would like to be able to have a very good Matt Williams next year at that spot. We're also going to be redshirting on the defensive side of the ball our right end Brent Wynn, because we have the depth to be able to redshirt him at the 52 overall. And we're also going to be redshirting Scott Watts. He was a big time disappointment in the recruits, so we will be sending him into that spot. We have made the decision to keep Pat Andrews out of the red shirt. We're going to try and see what we can do with him on the returning side of the ball. So we will see what he can do with his speed and acceleration. I have hopes for him, so that's why I am keeping him out of the red shirt. We'll make a decision if we're going to redshirt him next year or not. He is lower in overall than our previous walk-on, Adrian Sherman. So we're going to have to see what he can do. But like I said in that offseason part, I am really excited about our defense, and they are going to be the key players for our team this year if we are going to make any noise and try and continue our great play from last season. Would love to become a 3-star team outside of that 2-star spot. I'm very excited to see what we can do this upcoming season. So our schedule this year, we've decided to do a little bit of a BCC type of schedule. So instead of going after any A-rated teams, I just don't think we're there yet. So we're going to go after a B team. That's going to be Minnesota. We'll play on the road against Minnesota. They're a middle of the road Big Ten team at that tier 2 level. So hopefully we are able to match up. We're really going to see where we fit, if we are able to be good or enough or not. Our C team that we're going to be facing off is going to be Colorado State. They're the newly promoted team from the Independents, so you could argue that they're kind of a D team, we're going to be facing off against them. Want to shake the dust off this for our team this season. And on top of that, we're going to have New Mexico be our last team in our non-conference schedule. One thing I did want to mention is that we are going to be switching up the sliders. I talked about this a little bit in the Oswego Dynasty, but we're going to be switching the quarter length to 10 minutes. One thing that I'm really wanting to get is around an average of 60-ish plays for each team. That's about the average that we saw from a lot of the teams this past season. When I look at other results from other teams that are simulating their games, I want to get plays around that mark. So this last season, Billings was getting 53, an average out of all 12 games. They were getting about 53 plays, and our opponents were getting into the 40s. That's not exactly what I'm looking for. So we're going to try and even it up a little bit and put them at around the same number of plays. We'll see if 10 minutes gets us to around that same average. Something else that we're going to be doing this in this preseason, because our wide receivers are so poor, we only have Antoine Foreman and Corey Young as our wide receivers. After that, we just have our wide receivers. So we're really going to be going after more of the 2 tight end sets and 2 wide receivers. So we're really looking at 22 personnels or 12 personnels more so this year than we are in previous years. Really looking to add that little extra element, really going after a lot of those 22 personnels this year. So now going over the preseason polls and the outlooks for this year, as well as the preseason All-Americans for all of the conferences and the NCAA. We'll talk about our Mountain West Conference, as that is going to be the biggest outlook that we do have coming up this season, as that is what's going to determine if we're going to be promoted or not. Not necessarily all these other teams, but what we can do in the Mountain West. So the pundits so far, they're going to have Washington State be the team that is going to be the team that is the favorite to be promoted this season. Alaska's not too far behind them. So those 2 teams are going to be the teams that are going to be really the teams to watch out for. They have Utah State ranked highly. They are tier 3 team coming up to tier 2. So we'll see if that is going to adjust anything. California, they're going to be sitting at the 4 spot. Stanford's going to find themselves at the 5 in that middle spot. They're going to put BYU at 6, but I think a lot of that is because of them falling from tier 1. I think that BYU is actually a really good team still for the Mountain West. They'll probably finish near the top, I would think, but they're going to be sitting at 6 to start. They've got us at 7, which I would love to see. I want us to avoid the bottom as much as possible, and that will leave Boise State, San Jose State, and San Diego State at the bottom. So a couple guys that I want to talk about for this Mountain West season. We do have some All-Americans from our conference. Of course, BYU's going to have a good chunk. They've got Kingsley Suamataia. That name's going to be really hard to pronounce, so we're just going to say Kingsley from BYU. Another guy that we're going to see from our conference at that number 1 first team All-American is, of course, Dallas DeLoach. He is the best linebacker in the country, and we're going to show that. Washington State's going to find themselves with 4 guys on that second team. Cam Ward, and then Deshaun Stribling and Donovan Ollie are the guys he's going to be throwing the ball to. They're also going to have Jaden Hicks at the safety spot, so they'll find 4, which is why they are the favorites to be promoted this season. Isaac Tate from Alaska is also going to be a team from our conference, as well as Elijah Wood from San Jose State at that outside linebacker position. He had a lot of defensive touchdowns last year, so I'm not shocked that he is a second team All-American. So something that I have noticed from our teams coming up this next year in the Mountain West is that running the numbers, we are going to have the worst quarterback. We're going to have the worst wide receiver group, the 2 worst wide receivers out of the top 2, and the worst offensive line in the conference by far. We are averaging a rating of 68 on our offensive line, and Boise State is going to be your next lowest team at 76. We are by far the worst offensive line in the conference. Alaska and BYU are going to be up there at the top. Alaska is going to be sitting at 87 for their average. And then BYU, who's got some pros on their offensive line, they're going to be sitting at 85. That's going to be a challenge, which is why I think BYU is going to do a whole lot better than a lot of the people say. Now, from our defensive side of the ball, our defensive line, our new guys are going to be near the bottom of the conference. That's going to be Luke Craig and Yusuf Sykes. They're going to be down there at the bottom. Michael Hall technically is going to be down at the bottom and overall, but that is only mostly because he is a 73, but he plays way better than his 73 rating. 68 overall last season, and he was one of the best linebackers we had outside of Dallas DeLoach. He was fantastic. Big time contributor from last year. Our cornerbacks are going to be near the bottom. They're only Washington State and San Jose State are the only ones that are going to have worse than we do. Herbert Noel is going to be near the top, which is going to be really nice for us to have at the safety spot. So I am very excited about this next upcoming season. So now I wanted to talk about the rosters from our conference and do them in the order that I think that the conference is going to shape out. The way that I think the conference is going to shape out is that Washington State's going to be finishing at the top. Alaska is going to finish right below them. I see BYU as the third best team in the conference, Stanford, and then Utah State. And then we'll see Cal and Boise State, San Jose State, and San Diego State. Those are going to be the 9 teams and how I think they're going to fall. I think that Cal, Boise State, San Jose State, and San Diego, I think that there's a big gap between Boise State and San Jose State and San Diego State. I think that those 2 teams at the bottom are going to be the teams that are going to be fighting to stay out of relegation. So wanted to talk about them really quickly. Washington State, their offense is superior. They've got 3 guys that are going to be drafted in this next season. Cam Ward is a 94 overall quarterback. Stribling and Ollie are going to be in the 90s. Though there's a reason why they're All-Americans. They're going to be a problem for our conference, and I think they're going to be very good. Next one up is going to be Alaska. Dallas Barrow is going to be a pro. He is the best quarterback in our conference, only just edging out Cam Ward for that spot. He is going to be losing a good amount of his wide receivers from last year. D. Ernst is going to be an 87 overall wide receiver, and they're going to be headed by a fantastic offensive line, the best offensive line in the conference. They also have one of the best defensive secondaries in the conference. They have Wade Daly, who's going to be a pro, and they have Morris Cruz at safety, who's also going to be a pro. They are going to be a very good team to watch out for. Next team up that I want to talk about is BYU. I think they are a very, very solid team. I mean, there's a reason why they were in the tier 1 last year. They have a very good offensive line. They've got 2 guys that are going to be drafted next year at the tackle positions. They have some of the best defensive players in the conference. They are a couple of guys that need to be watched out for. They already gave 5 pros from last year, and you're going to add even more this next season. When you've got pros on your team, you can't be a bad team. Next team that I think is going to finish well is going to be Stanford. They're just a solid group of players. They're also bringing in Manny Diaz from the national champions in Penn State. So I think that they're going to be a very good team. They always have a fantastic offensive line that's going to be able to block. Their defensive line is also some of the best in the conference. The next team we're going to talk about is going to be Utah State. They're not the most well-rounded group, but when you've got pros on, like I said earlier, when you've got pros on your team, anything can happen. You got to watch out for them. They've got one of the best running backs in the nation in Jordan Crew. He's somebody you got to watch out for. He's going to be a pro. He could go pro this year if he wants to. But they also, on the defensive side of the ball, also have fantastic players. They also are going to have one of the best corners from this past recruiting cycle, being a 79 overall. He's going to be a true freshman, and he's going to be starting right away for this team. They're loading up, and they're going to be a challenge for the conference. But the next team we're going to talk about is going to be the California Golden Bears. They don't necessarily have any guys that are really going to be guys that you're going to be writing home about. They're definitely just an all-around really good group of players. It's one of the reasons why they're going to be sliding into that 6th spot, is that they don't really have the best players in the position, but they're really just around that average spot for the conference. Next team that we will talk about is going to be Boise State. This is one of those wild card teams for me. Not exactly sure what we're going to be getting out of Boise State. Their offensive line is going to be that 2nd worst in the conference, so that's going to hold them back. One of the reasons why I have them sitting behind Cal instead of being ahead of Cal. But they're a team that makes me really worried. Last year, they passed the ball like crazy. I mean, we went into a shootout with them. They scored the most amount of points on us last season, so they're going to be a challenge. They like I said, they don't have a reload, but they are going to be a challenge for us. And this is where we see the big steep drop off. This is where I think we're getting to the point where we're talking about the teams that are going to be fighting for relegation. So I think that San Jose State is going to find themselves at that 9th spot. I think they're just better than San Diego State. I think San Diego State has really struggled to really replace the guys that they're losing every year. And it's not like their offense is the greatest offense in the world. They're always down in the dumps, and their defense, they will have to rely on their defense. And their defense is just getting worse and worse and worse every year. Talking about San Diego State. Now, San Jose State, they're kind of in the same problem that San Diego State has. They definitely don't have the best players on their roster. Now, they do have some good players, which is why I would put them ahead of San Diego State. They do have Elijah Wood, who's going to be a 2nd-team All-American. He was a defensive touchdown machine last year. This is a team that has the defense to really stop anybody in the conference, but I don't think they have the offensive power to beat anybody. And I've already talked about San Diego State while talking about San Jose State, so we will now move on to the last stage of the offseason, and we will go into recruiting. So just like in the Oswego Dynasty, we do not have a game in week 1, so we will be looking at our recruiting board during week 1 in this season. So talking about our pipelines, we're still a 2-star school, so we are still going to be recruiting from that Rocky Mountain region. So that's Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. Now, we do have the option to choose another pipeline outside of Montana. So we have the option between Idaho, Utah, and Arizona. One thing I've been wanting to do for a long time is be able to get Utah as our pipeline. Every so often, they have 5-star recruits. So I definitely want to be going after them as we can. And we have less competition in Utah than we do in Arizona. So I would have wanted Utah to be our pipeline state for some time, and we are finally able to do that. So why are pipelines so important? Well, with a pipeline, you can go after one recruit of any star level that you want. All of my recruiting restrictions are going to be in the description below in every video. But as a recap for this for this video, I can only recruit up to the star level of our team. So I can only go after 2 stars. We do have the ability to go after 1 3-star recruit this year off of a randomized chance, but with the pipelines, we can go after 1 extra guy from that state that we choose for our pipeline. So being a 2-star, we get 1 bonus pipeline outside of Montana. And with that, we are going to look at our recruiting board. So this is what our recruiting board is going to look like coming into this year. So we've got some decently good players on our recruiting board, but we also have some depth guys, which is definitely something that we're going to be looking at. We've got a good group of underclassmen. We've got a lot of freshmen and sophomores coming up, so we don't necessarily need to go get guys that are going to be starting. Especially, we're not going to really find a lot of guys that are going to be starting at the 2-star level anyways. So we're going after a good group of decently good guys, but we are going to be going after some really good guys. And those are going to be from our pipeline states in this season. So one of the guys that we're going to be going after, this is going to be our pipeline player from Utah. This is going to be Hanaya Vaitai. He's going to be the son of the coach at Second Haven, who is a tier 1 team and a powerhouse team that is always in the top 25. He's going to be a very good running back, and we definitely want him on our team because of his ability. Another guy that we're going to be going after is Cedric Allen. He's going to be our Montana pipeline player, 70 overall with decent coverage, very good speed, and decent tackling as a freshman. This is somebody that I would love to pick up. We're also number 1 on his list with fantastic bonuses that we have for him. Very excited. Definitely want him on our team. Somebody else that we're going to be going after that is also fantastic is going to be Carl Robinson. He's a hometown kid, and he's up 8 in overall, 82 speed, 90 acceleration for a fullback. He could slot in anywhere for us. Decent rushing. He's more of a running back player. I see him more as a running back player than I do as a fullback. He's somebody I want desperately. He could be incredibly good for our team. And those are about the players that we're really going to be spending a lot of points on. Yeah, we're going to be spending points on players that are better than others, but we're going to go all in on wide receivers as well. So that is what our recruiting board is going to look like for this upcoming season to start out. And that will do it for this off-season video. If you've enjoyed it and you've made it this far, you are a real one. And I would please ask you to like and subscribe to the video if you're not already subscribed. Share the video with a friend. That helps this channel and this series tremendously, more than you could ever know. And we will get this season going. I'm excited about this season. We're going places. Get us to 3 stars this season. That's the goal. Get us to a 3-star program.